And from North Carolina.
A Wake County school principal is out following a year-long WRAL investigation, which showed the principal and other high-ranking district officials failed to report assaults in the classroom to police.
It's cold now and getting even colder. Before the plunge, we got some rain to talk about. I'll tell you how it'll impact your weekend.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 6, in the last 30 minutes, we learned the North Carolina man held hostage by Hamas is alive and will head home as part of a ceasefire deal announced today. He's one of 33 hostages expected to be released, along with hundreds of Palestinian prisoners.
Among them, 7 Americans, including Keith Siegel of Chapel Hill. For all the families, the months of waiting and wondering about their conditions has been agonizing. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. As we take a live look right now in Israel, this temporary ceasefire deal is set to start on Sunday. We have live team coverage of these developments and local reaction. Let's begin with Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center. Brian?
Deborah, in the last half hour, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that he is not formally responding to this deal. He says that he's waiting for some of the final details to be worked out before issuing a formal response, but we do know that he contacted both President Biden and President-elect Trump earlier today to thank them for their help in helping to negotiate this. These are the main points of the first phase of the ceasefire deal. Again, it begins on Sunday. Hamas has agreed to release 33 hostages, apparently including 2 Americans, and Israel has agreed to release Palestinian prisoners. Late reporting from CNN indicates that number could total more than 1,000. We mentioned some of those final details. They'll begin to be worked out tomorrow as negotiators from the United States, Qatar, and Egypt meet in Cairo.
Thank you, Brian. WRAL's Ashley Rowe continues our team coverage tonight. Ashley, a local tie to this story, word that Keith Siegel of Chapel Hill may be released in the first phase.
Gerald, as you've said, we just learned in the last half hour, Keith Siegel is alive and will be one of 2 Americans freed in the first phase of the ceasefire. President Biden wouldn't comment on how many Americans would be released, who they are, or how they're doing. Siegel and his wife, Aviva, were kidnapped from their home on October 7th, 2023. Aviva was released after 51 days, and she's been calling for Keith's release ever since. New tonight, I spoke with Keith's childhood friend from Raleigh, who is a former politician in Israel. He is eager to find out how Keith is doing.
But to be in darkness, presumably, for so many months, and who knows what kind of physical deprivations or torture he's made, I firstly hope that his head and his heart are intact. I really hope that he comes back with his spirit intact and can come back and be the kind of person he always was.
The hostages' families, including Aviva Siegel, releasing a statement saying, in part, "We are deeply grateful that there is finally an agreement between Israel and Hamas to bring our loved ones home. We have been waiting for 467 days while our family members suffer from life-threatening injuries, abuse, torture, and sexual violence. We thank President Biden, President-elect Trump, and their teams for their constructive efforts to make this possible." Families want to make sure every phase of the agreement is fully implemented. And new in the last hour, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the ceasefire agreement is still not complete, hours after the U.S. announced the deal. Gerald.
All right. Thank you very much, Ashley. You can count on WRAL and NBC Nightly News to stay on top of this breaking story tonight. Make sure you have the WRAL News app to receive push alerts like this to your phone as we follow developments throughout the night. And make sure the notifications are turned on so you can stay connected.
Right now, we're going to tell you about a story involving one WRAL Investigates has been following for some time. The principal at East Wake Magnet High School is out. The announcement comes after a year-long investigation by WRAL into a former teacher who assaulted students with special needs inside his classroom. WRAL's Keely Arthur found Principal Stacy Alston and other district leaders failed to report the assaults to police for more than a year, and Keely joins us now live from East Wake High School in Wendell. Keely, this is a huge development today.
Deborah, we have done so many stories on this, including one just less than 2 weeks ago. Now, principals are mandatory reporters, meaning they must report abuse if they see it or are made aware of it. And our investigation found that just did not happen here. In an email titled A Heartfelt Farewell and Gratitude, Principal Stacey Alston wrote that after much prayer, reflection, and discussion, he is leaving his role as East Wake's principal.
I'm happy that justice is finally being done for our kids.
To me, it's just so ridiculous that it would take this long.
Kim Tucker is one of several educators who contacted Principal Alston after seeing teacher James Rencher physically harm his students, Justin Hemphill and Christian King, in 2022. Both students are nonverbal.
What did you witness James Rencher do, and what did you report to Principal Alston?
I reported to Mr. Alston that Mr. Rencher had kicked Justin off the ball and Justin fell to the floor. I reported that he had pushed Christian's head.
Tess Smith and Justin's mother was left in the dark for 18 months.
He knew back in 2022. And here we are in 2025. And you know, this part is finally being brought to justice.
It took a WRAL investigation focusing on parent concerns for Rencher to leave his job at East Wake and for the Wake County School District to finally report him to police in 2024, nearly 2 years after the assaults occurred.
We were not taken seriously, and the children's safety and well-being was not taken seriously.
Now, it's important to note that Alston is still employed with the district, now working as a senior administrator in maintenance and operation. I told you in our 4 p.m. report that we were working to find out if he would be working with children in this new role. A district spokesperson just told me no, he will not be working with children in his new role. I also want to mention that our investigation found Alston was far from the only high-ranking district official who had awareness of the concerns surrounding Rencher. For more on that part of our investigation, you can go to WRAL.com. Reporting live in Wendell, Keely Arthur, WRAL News.
Yeah, these are our big updates, Keely. Thank you. WRAL Investigates and Keely were first to uncover many of the details in this case. You can find our extensive reporting going back months on WRAL.com.
And here's a live look at Southeast Wake County as the sun sets on the horizon. We are in for another frigid night in the area. Some of you are going to wake up to temperatures in the teens. Meteorologist Mike Mays is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. Mike, the January chill continues.
It does, and it's going to continue for the rest of the month and only to get colder next week. So if you think this is cold, wait till Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. Temperatures and wind chill, and notice the wind chills are all the same as the air temperature. No wind out there right now, and I don't think the winds are going to be an issue tonight. So we're not talking about a wind chill in the morning, but it's already 27 in South Hill, 28 at Rocky Mount, 32 at Southern Pines, 34 at RDU. And in the Triangle, hour by 10 o'clock, we're down to 26, and by 6 a.m., we're down to 21. But some of the normally colder rural locations, and you know where you live, will be in the upper teens tonight. Roxborough 17, 19 South Hill, 19 at Rocky Mount, 18 at Siler City. Make sure you keep the fireplace going tonight, or make sure you have some great heat. 21 in Fayetteville. Now there is a massive Arctic outbreak on the way. I'm going to track that coming up.
All right. Thank you, Mike. The woman accused of setting a beloved downtown Raleigh bar on fire faced a judge for the first time today. Eva Marie Torres faces a felony charge of destroying the House of Art last week. Surveillance video helped identify her, and it's not the first time she's faced charges for starting a fire. WRAL Sean Gallagher joins us now live from the House of Art in Raleigh. Sean, do we know the reason why?
Deb, right now, we still don't have a motive for why a fire was set here, destroying House of Art just last week. But the woman who's being accused and charged for starting this fire was actually accused of something similar just a few years ago in a different state.
Disheveled and confused, Eva Maria Torres made her first appearance Wednesday afternoon.
Good afternoon. Are you Miss Eva Marie Torres?
Prosecutors believe the 59-year-old does not have a home. Law enforcement believes she's the woman in this surveillance photo and in this video walking from off the porch of House of Art last week.
Can I give me a working fire to the corner of Person Street and fire?
Raleigh Fire tells WRAL no one called this fire in. A crew happened to see it on their way back to the station. And while no one was hurt, the fire destroyed the beloved bar.
I never would have thought that I would come here and see this place like this.
Now, a week later in court,
There's prior convictions in New York for arson.
we learned this isn't the first time Terrayas has been accused of setting a building on fire. In upstate New York, Terrayas was arrested for arson in 2021. We've requested more information from the Oneida Police Department because it's not clear what punishment she received.
The state give a little more of a factual basis on these allegations.
First appearances are typically uneventful. You find out who will represent you, what's your bond, and when's your next court date. But Terrayas didn't appear to understand the gravity of what she's facing.
I got a paper that says I have to come back today at 1:30.
Yes, ma'am, that's what we're here for today, okay?
Oh, so that's done?
That is done. We'll see you February 5th, 9 a.m. That's when your actual court date will be set, okay?
Am I free to go home? Am I free to go home now?
You are not free to go home at this point unless you're able to post your bond.
And Terrayas was given a $250,000 bond, and she'll be back in court next month. In downtown Raleigh, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
Still ahead, thousands of people in North Carolina are concerned that their vote may not count 2 months after the election. We'll hear from some of those voters and what you can do if you are on that list.
And breaking news from the WRAL Live Center, a suspect arrested in that double murder in Hillsborough at the end of last year. Coming up, I'll tell you where they found him.
When we join you tonight, I speak to the father of a young American about today's hostage release deal, when he may see his son again. Also, a big headline from the FDA, why it's banning a common food dye, ahead on Nightly News.
All new in the WRAL Live Center, we've learned that Hillsborough police have charged a man in a double murder that happened a couple of weeks ago. This is 19-year-old Kenyon Cameron of Hillsborough, facing 2 counts of first-degree murder. You will recall this story from December 30th on Cardinal Drive in the southern part of Hillsborough. 16-year-old Zakara Wardlow of Hillsborough and 20-year-old DeAnthony Morgan of LaGrange of Lenoir County found shot to death in a vehicle there. Police say they are still investigating. Cameron's being held in the Orange County Detention Center without bond.
Thank you, Brian. It is a conundrum for 60,000 North Carolina voters. What to do if your vote is being challenged in the ongoing lawsuit over a seat on the state Supreme Court?
Yeah, this is a question driving some voters to go out of their way to find out why their names were on the list. And it's leaving others very frustrated. This is all connected to the state Supreme Court race between Republican Jefferson Griffin and Democrat Allison Riggs. WRAL's Eric Miller talked to those voters and explains what you can do if you're on the list.
They work different jobs in different cities, but all are on the list.
It's really surreal.
It's really frustrating. I was immediately angry.
Ella Crom is teaching English in Spain. Rachel Arnold is a company VP in Greensboro. Spring Dawson McClure, a Hillsborough psychologist. All three have been voting in North Carolina for years without issue until this year.
To be honest, I wouldn't have imagined that this was possible.
Dawson McClure, who's lived and voted in Hillsborough since 2012, wanted to know why. Her search led her to her county board of elections and this voter registration form.
Your vote getting challenged in this election is due to a typo that happened back in 2012 and was fixed in 2012.
That's correct. That's correct. I registered legally. I've been voting legally.
Some of these people have been voters for 30 years or more, have no idea that they're being challenged.
UNC law professor Ted Shaw says Dawson McClure did the right thing. He said voters need to verify if their names are on the list of voters being challenged, engage with voter rights groups if they are being challenged, and if their votes are ultimately overturned, they may be able to file their own lawsuit. The North Carolina State Board of Elections has encouraged people to do exactly what Dawson McClure did here, to check in with their county boards, find if there are any clerical errors, and get those addressed as soon as they can. If you want to know if your name is on this list here, we've got those links on WRAL.com, both to a full list of the names being challenged, as well as a website that lets you search for your name in particular to find out if you're on the list. In Raleigh, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
I'm here with meteorologist Mike Mays in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. This is the recipe for some very cold temperatures overnight.
Oh, yeah, we got clear skies, we have dry air and no wind tonight. 3 ingredients coming together to watch the temperatures tank. We should reach our coldest potential tonight. Not going to be the coldest night of the season. I think that's going to come next week, but it sure will be close. 34 right now with the dew point at 4. The air is extremely dry. And look at the numbers and look at the dew points. Dew point at 7 in Southern Pines and Fayetteville. It's 35 in Fayetteville, 28 at Roxborough, 27 right now in South Hill. Winds light, if not calm. So we're not talking about a wind chill tonight. 30 here in the Triangle by 7. By 9 o'clock, we're at 26, 11, 24. If you're going for a doggy walk this evening, make sure you're well bundled. Cover every exposed bit of skin that you have to stay warm. It's just going to be nasty cold. So in the morning, 22 by 8 a.m., 10 a.m. up to about 34. Lunchtime, 42. A milder day tomorrow. 50 comes with partly cloudy skies in the afternoon and the wind southwest 10 to 15. And it's that southwesterly wind that will push that temperature up. And for the day tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, we'll be in the 50s. Friday, we expect mostly sunny skies. The morning low 30, that's nothing. 51. Saturday, we have about a 50% chance of rain, most of it being light. In the evening, it should be gone, and we should have a dry night Saturday. A new little area of low pressure comes in, and we expect about a 50% chance of rain. 38 the low, 48 the high, and it's quite possible as the system is exiting the evening Sunday, could end up with some wet snowflakes in our northern and northeastern counties. So we'll be on the lookout for that. So what's next? Well, we expect another massive outbreak of Arctic air. We've got this little one right here that is impacting our day today. And then we have a bit of a ridge taking over for Friday and Saturday, which will help warm us up. And notice the blues aren't as pronounced because it's just not quite so cold. But when you see the darker blues and the purples, this is what we call our temperature anomaly, where you see those darker purples and blues. That's where temperatures are well below normal. And look at the expanse of this Arctic air mass. By Sunday evening at 7, most of the country is being impacted. By the time we get to Monday, everywhere in the U.S. is impacted, even South Florida. And for us, we expect some mighty cold air. While that's happening, there could be multiple waves of moisture that try to make their way toward us. We've got that split flow, the cold air meeting up with the moist air coming in from the southwest. But what's interesting, the American model doesn't want to touch this now. Doesn't have anything frozen, but the European model shows these little waves of moisture coming in. So the chance for frozen precipitation next week is definitely not definitive. So we're not jumping on that bandwagon just yet. Just to let you know, we've got our eyes on next week, but there's no consensus on anything frozen. It could vary from Tuesday to Friday of next week. So in the meantime, it's relatively mild compared to what's ahead. We have those rain chances Saturday and Sunday, and there's the taste of your Arctic air. Maybe a little bit conservative on our part. It could actually end up being a little colder these 3 days than what we're showing. So brace yourself for the coldest air we've seen for quite some time.
We will be watching very closely, Mike. Thank you.
Doesn't look like North Carolina.
No.
All right, we are talking sports with Chris Lee. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, football news now is year-round, so let's still talk about some football. Changes are needed at NC State if their offense is going to take a step for next season. After the break, hear from new offensive coordinator Kurt Roper for the first time. His recipe for getting the offense to the next level. That's next in sports. All right, it's time to face the strange. That's a line from David Bowie's 1971 hit Changes. And changes are what fans in NC State football expect to see on the field in 2025. There are plenty of offseason changes to the coaching staff, also to the roster with players transferring out and new players coming in. Kurt Roper is one of the constants, but he goes from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator for the Wolfpack in 2025. Now, Roper is tasked with improving an NC State offense that once again was in the bottom half of the ACC this past season. One of his remedies, he says, is playing faster and quite simply scoring the ball.
One of our challenges is to score more points as an offense, right? And I think if that's one of your challenges, then you have to have the intentions, the mindset to go out there and try to score more points. First and foremost, we're going to try to put guys on the football field that are explosive with the football. I think those are the guys that score the points for you.
Long snapper J.J. Jansen has played the most games in Panthers franchise history. While we all await to see if the Panthers will bring him back for an 18th season, Jansen is placing more roots in the Carolinas. He's a part owner of the new ECHL hockey team in Greensboro called the Greensboro Gargoyles, which is a way for him to invest in a state that he wants to continue to call home.
My wife Laura and I, our kids, we've said for the longest time we've made the Carolinas our home. And we just said, look, anytime we can be a part of sports in the Carolinas, we want to be a part of it. I got 4 little kids. It's a great atmosphere. And just wanting to be a part of that. There's nothing better than being a part of pro sports in any city. And we're really excited about it being here in Greensboro.
UNC is on a 3-game winning streak, which matches their longest winning streak of the season so far. They can boost it to 4 games if they beat Cal at home tonight. Head coach Hubert Davis says that crashing the glass will be the key to victory.
You know, we gave up 16 offensive rebounds against NC State. That's just not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be a recipe for success against Cal because even their guards get to the offensive glass.
The Hills will tip off at Cal at the Smith Center tonight at 7 o'clock. And NC State looks to bounce back from their loss to UNC from over the weekend. Tonight, they are in Blacksburg, Virginia, set to take on Virginia Tech. Tip-off is also at 7 o'clock tonight. So we're going to look to see if those teams will get a win. We'll have highlights tonight at 10 and 11. Also, the Carolina Hurricanes are currently playing in Buffalo right now. We'll have highlights of that game as well.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
And thank you for joining us. We are minutes away from NBC Nightly News and more coverage of the ceasefire in Gaza. Lester Holt talks one-on-one with the father of a young hostage who is eager to see his son again.
And then on WREL News at 7, we catch up with a Duke professor and his wife. Their relatives were held hostage by Hamas, one of them still captive. They join us live to talk about today's ceasefire agreement.